is. It's not what we think it is. It has nothing to do with skin color at all. Anyway, Dr. Fuller wrote a defense manual. So imagine you're a chess player and you don't know how to play the game, but you learn the offense from watching the people pushing the white pieces. And if you watch it long enough, you'll learn how to defend their strategy. Well, he learned to defend against white supremacy.
Okay.
And that defense is called the United Compensatory Code System for breaking the chains of white supremacy. If you remember the ISIS papers by Frances Wellesley.
Yes, I've read it a few times, actually.
You know, in the beginning when she say, if you don't understand white supremacy, everything you think you know is only confusing you.
Right.
He wrote that. She was quoting him.
And so, from what I understand that you're saying is that white supremacy is actually a military doctrine, but for what cause? Like, what
global conquest. Global conquest. It's global conquest and subjugation of the organic people of the planet. Their strategy came from the Anunnaki.
Say that again?
That strategy comes from the Anunnaki.
I was just going to get you to explain, because I've been in a few different dialogues about that. The difference between, I guess, those that have Anunnaki blood and those that are considered to be organic people.
Mm-hmm. Well, we all got Anunnaki blood now, but we all got Earth blood. But there's some people who will never vibrate on our frequency, and they can't stay here.
So where would they go?
I don't give a fuck where they go. They can get the fuck out of here. They just can't stay here. We don't care where they go.
So can you explain a little bit more in depth about like how you define organic people?
Say that again. I didn't hear the question.
Explain a little bit more in depth to give us a better understanding of how to basically interpret what is meant by organic people.
Organic people, the Anunnaki call us the Earthborn.
Okay.
And they call themselves the Starborn. They wasn't born. Their souls don't originate from Earth. Ours do. The souls in us is like the radiance of the Earth in human form, and we the antibodies of Earth. So anytime Earth is under attack, is a human by a sentient being. The human is the sentient being that is dispatched to defend Earth from the sentient beings that came from somewhere else.
Right.
We the antibodies. We the T cells.
That basically seeks to kill any inorganic thing or some alien. Well, basically how that works in the body is anything that's alien to the body, those particular cells send like messages to the T cells, and then the T cells pretty much go seek it to kill it.
Yeah. So the T cells is like a sergeant on the battlefield sending the troops to what to remove. It don't necessarily have to kill it, but it has to purge it from the system.
Gotcha.
Notice the word purge.
Purge.
Right. So when they talking about a purge is coming up, they really talking about us getting rid of those, which is inorganic beings. Some of the beings are sentient robots, AI, artificial intelligence. And they look like humans, but they're not human. They are straight sociopathic. They can only do what they programmed to do. And a lot of them been programmed to be serial killers.
So with the Anunnaki basically genetically engineering the Lulu Amilu, what would that be? What would they be considered today? Would they be considered organic with just a little bit of Anunnaki blood, or?
Let's go over that. So the first ones, Lulu Amalu, that was created by the geneticist known as Enki, was utilizing the spirits of the earth spirit and in physical form, and they came out the little people we call the sign or the twa.
The Twa, the Pygmies. I'm familiar with that.
Okay, now, they were created first to mine South Africa, the mines of Mount Adapa. You remember reading about that in Holy Tablets?
Yeah, I remember Mount Adapa.
Okay, now that's Enki's land, the Absu. This over here we call the Americas is Tahuti land. And the rest of the earth that's not North and South America is the land of Osset, Isis, or they call her Ainana in Sumerian. Ainana is a title, and many different women in the Sumerian culture held the title at different times.
Right.
Right. So it's a rank title. It means Queen of Heaven and Earth. It's the same thing that Isis means.
Right.
Right. And it's also the same reference for Black Madonna. Right. So Black Madonna is Ma and Donna. Ma is the mother. Donna is the daughter.
Okay.
Yeah. So when the Pygmies was created or altered because they was already here, they just altered the genetic by infusing them with a certain portion of the DNA that teaches them to have reverence for divinity.
Right.
But divinity is only higher intelligence because it's all mind, and all mind is what creates the matter.
Absolutely.
So in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And the Word is thought, and thought is Thoth. Thoth is the heir to the Earth Kingdom. The king seat of the Earth Kingdom is seat 50 on the Galactic Council. The queen seat of heaven on Earth is Galactic Council seat 40. Right? So the queen mother is always 13, which is the mother of the king. Now, they needed a male child that had mitochondrial birthright and father's rulership right in order to have a competent heir.
Right.
And the only way he's gonna know who he is through a course of self-discovery, because he has to realize who he is in real life, and then he has to go do work that's gonna prove his validity of who he is.
Okay.
So in the course of all of this, the Pygmies was decommissioned by Enki. They was given, go on about y'all business, live y'all best life. And then Enlil came. He said, y'all still ain't sending us enough gold. Y'all can't stop sending the gold. Enki said, we met the quota. Enlil said, we still need more. They actually eat monoatomic gold, platinum, iridium, radium, and silver. And that's why they can live thousands of years. Because the energy conversion is zero loss. Right? The zero loss means that it's a superconduction taking place. And if you got zero loss of energy, you don't deteriorate. You deteriorate because you lose energy. Right? They call it entropy in science.
That's right.
And the entropy causes the aging factor to take place, which is artificially incorporated into the human genome. We didn't take physical form on a day-to-day basis. We came in a physical form periodically to perform functions. When they collapsed the fourth dimension into the third dimension, that's where all of the death was created. Because you stuck into what they call a reincarnation loop. Enki don't want his genetic fuck up to be exposed as an inadequate humanoid, right?
Right.
So between Enki and Ninursin was his son, Ninurtu, who became the chief scientist on Nibiru.
Right.
And his teacher was a scientist named Nergal. So when Ninursin created another species of human, this is why it's two creations in the Bible. When he created a new species, he fucked up, trying to conceal it from the queen of heaven and earth. They used sulfur to replace the carbon, and that fucked up the creation. And they kept having birth defects. If you read if you read in the Sumerian tablets, it tells you that the remedy was 1 drop of Anunnaki blood would cure the genetic defect. Right? So all of the royal families of the earth had Anunnaki blood. That's what created royalty to begin with. Right? But the earth, Earthborn, we have a different psychological makeup from the Anunnaki, being from the original earth spirits. That mental makeup tells us, you know, we in this shit. We in this shit together. Whether we want to be or not, they got all of us in the same bucket, and crabs don't supposed to be in the bucket.
No.
So that's why they don't know that crab and the buckets are pulling each other in. They ain't trying to pull each other in. They trying to all get out. But ain't nobody strategizing the exit strategy to get out of the bucket. And along come me, I'm like, fuck it. I'm just going to kick the bucket over. We'll figure out how to get out from here.
I know that's right. So the various different, are you saying there was various different cloning processes?
It was 2 major processes. The first one was Enki's. His was in harmony with the rules of Earth.
Right.
And the great debauchery was what Enlil did.
Okay, explain that a little bit.
So by replacing the sulfur, the carbon with sulfur, it cuts off the ability to tap into the higher consciousness that allows you to ascend. And they were sentient. And that's where the problem came at, because one of the rules of the universe, the free will universe, is the only people that shouldn't have the right to ascend is those who choose not to.
Right, but it's their choice.
Right. You got some people that want to be servants no matter what. They don't want to be the leader. They don't want to be the one in the big mansion that own it. They just want to come in and clean that motherfucker up and go back to their little hut. Right? Because they feel like they serving a greater purpose. Now remember, we got something called the Great Arcana, which means the great work.
Right.
And the great work is codified in something called the Magnum Opus, which is the great book. And the Magnum Opus is broke up into parts and scattered around the world. These are called together collectively the Scrolls of Destiny. Now remember, Baba said that the Scrolls of Destiny was seized by somebody called Humbaba.
Right, Zuin.
Yep. Zuin is Alexander. The son of
Alexander the Great?
Yeah, so they say he's great with his sissy ass, but Alexander the Great is Enlil's son. He's Enlil's son.
Who? Alexander?
Yeah.
It's funny you should say that, because like I've done a lot of research on like the Anunnaki, you know, based on the stuff that, you know, Pops left for us to study, and, you know, what he taught us. And because that's my name, Nanorta. Like my first name is Messiah, but it's Messiah Nanorta Naya Al-Mahdi. And I used to read a lot about Nanorta and Lil's seed, the difference between, you know, Enlil's side and Enki's side, and the war and the, you know, the Nibirian rules of succession. And that is a very complicated situation that they were in. Like that was very complicated, but that caused so much strife that even now to this day, we're still feeling that, I think.
Yeah, well, you got to look at the story they give us in the religions about the war in heaven. Right? In the war in heaven, they said they cast Satan to hell, right?
That's right.
And then how the fuck he end up on Earth?
Well, I think that goes back to defining what hell is when you start to look at the various different terminologies in the protocols in the Bible that Pops left for us. You have Gehenna, you have Hades, and you have Or, like Order of Chaldea or Chaldea. So it's various different perspectives. But I think that in religion it tries to make us think that this is somewhere where you're going to burn physically if you don't follow the rules. When the definitions and etymologies of the word Gehenna, Hades, and Or has absolutely nothing to do with that.
Right. And well, let's see if we can't find hell real quick. And
okay.
the Satan means Lord Set.
Okay.
It's Set, E-N mean Lord in Sumerian. Now they say that they cast him to hell. Okay, so Greek culture, what is it called?
Wouldn't that be Gehenna or Hades?
Greek culture is called Hellenistic.
Oh, yeah.
Open up.
I'm thinking about the language of the Bible. But yeah, go ahead.
Excuse me 1 second.
What's going on? Sorry, 1 second. How you?
Good, I'm good.
Oh, I guess I'll show you another time.
Oh.
Or I'm gonna send them to you.
Okay.
Julian has sent me some videos from last night game at his homecoming game.
Oh yeah, send me some. Send me some. All right.
He did the same thing.
Okay, so if Greece was a Hellenistic culture, and hell is short for Helen.
Right.
And Alexander is Enlil's son. Are we making some dots connect right here?
We sure are.
So as long as we under the rule of Alexander, we are in hell. Because he hijacked the original Greek culture as a Roman infiltrator. The Romans were Etruscans. The Etruscans was nomads. They had no home on earth. Them was Enlil children. We know them in the Arabic language or in Syriac as Arabi, the wanderers. And that's because they had no homeland. Now Elijah Muhammad he say that Yaqub's grafted death was not native to anywhere on the planet. Everywhere they go, they call him Mr. He's talking about Enlil and his children. Jacob is Enlil, the supplanter, the underminer, the one who's trying to replace others. He's looking for a homeland. That's why when they sacked us over here, they also had to sack Africa and they had to sack Europe and Asia. So they controlled all the wars from both sides in order to get to the place where they was in control.
Right.
And this control system is based off economics. It's funneled to Switzerland, the only neutral country on the planet. The last war that Switzerland had was with the French. And this is when they infiltrated and settled in Switzerland. They came from France to Switzerland and they don't want to be seen. That's why they say they're from the Amun priesthood or the concealed priesthood. And their problem is with those who come from the Aten priesthood, the ones who is known, the visible God, the one that stands out front and don't give a fuck, Imam, right? So they changed the meaning of shit and they changed the names. Now Enlil names his kids after Enki kids on earth because that's who he's trying to replace. So when you go back in the Bible, when you look at the lineage of Cain and the lineage of Seth, they all start having the same names for some reason.
Right.
It's because that's a strategy. It's a military strategy to confuse who's the righteous and who not. And these are the scrolls that tells the story that became religious books. And if they can keep you in a stupor using the religious text, they can tell you the story without ever telling you the truth. You got to figure it out.
You're right about that, because they damn sure ain't giving up no factual information. It's just basically the way that the information is outlined, it just keeps people in a state of fundamental misconceptions of reality. Like,
So
just don't know.
They reverse engineered a mental virus, and the mental virus in Dianetics is called an engram.
Right, the engram. I studied Dianetics, and then
Right.
they take you through all of these strategic processes to make you a clear, which means that, according to Dianetics, that they actually say that within inside of the subconscious mind, you have is pretty much your memorization of good and bad. But people in certain environments and certain circumstances takes place with them, and those things become re-stimulators and activate you to behave. They call it behavioral aberrations.
Right. And then you know about contagion and aberration.
Right. Yeah, I studied that. I studied that for a couple of years, but yeah.
Yeah. So the mental dynamic at place here, right?
Okay.
If I teach you something, if I take the truth and pervert it and then teach it to you as an absolute, the truth part of it gonna make it stick.